now time to crack on joining these two turbos together. So I've actually got this here. So what I'll use is these cast 2-inch bends, and that will go pretty much weld it to the front of that turbo, and then there'll be that 90 there, which this will sit onto that turbo like that, and it'll pretty much just go like that. So that joins our two turbos together. So the big turbos puts a boost into the little turbo, and the little turbo will then put that boost out here. So that will push on there, and that'll go to the intercooler. And I've also got this as my air filter setup, so that'll just pretty much straight onto the front of the big turbo, and it'll just sit in there somewhere. So I'll mock it all up, show you what we're going to do, but we'll pretty much start cracking on with joining all the turbos together and the pipe work. So that's it, that's pretty much it all mocked up. So just pipe work everywhere. And then this will just join to the intercooler down here and there. But yeah, it's pretty much now make all this permanent. So we'll crack on with that, get these joined together, and there's not much to go. So that's the small turbo inlet welded, which now joins it to the big turbo. So digging things off the list. So at the moment I'm just measuring up to make a brace from the block to the manifold, just because the weight of the turbos and everything else, I don't want this to be cracking off or snapping something. So probably just go off the engine mount straight up to the manifold, just make that so it bolts off with the manifold and hopefully support the lot. So I was going to use this old tow bar which I found laying out here. Already has a hole in it, perfect, so I'll just cut that off on measurement and hopefully use that. So that's basically what I want to do, something off the engine mount bolt straight up to the manifold there. I've obviously cut this a bit short, so I'll cut another one. That should support the weight of the turbos hanging off that manifold. And then I'll brace the second turbo to this manifold, I'll show you later. So that supports straight to directly to the manifold instead of relying on the first turbo to hold the second turbo really. So the manifold's now bolted in, that's permanent now, so it's gaskets on, silicon's in. You can see down here that little brace down to the engine mount. So that should hopefully stop it vibrating and snapping off at the head. And I'll put a brace in here, you see there, because of the J-pipe setup where that's hanging. So hopefully that doesn't break off there basically. So we're fitting all this up. So pretty much permanent because that's it. Oh, and also on this manifold, I've tapped in right there. So that's where my EGT probe's going to go. So it's actually going to be in the manifold now, not in the dump pipe. So I just got to put that in there, and that's really it. Okay, so give you an update on the Rodeo and what we've done so far. So we've got the turbos in, the wastegates in, the two turbos joined together through here. We have an air filter on, that's where it's pretty much going to live. Oil lines are done. The EGT probe just needs to go into the manifold. I'll screw that in later. Hook down in there. You can see the oil return's done. You can see it in there just. You can see that brass T-piece, two hoses running into it. So pretty much just got to crack on with, do this pipe to join to the intercooler, do a little screamer pipe, and the exhaust dump pipe down there is what's left. So we'll start cracking on with that. The car actually starts and drives at the moment. I actually drove it last night outside to wash it, and I've done a new clutch, and I've bypassed the clutch dampener, which you can see that little union join piece down there, that little silver bit. So that's actually, I just use this Braceworks join, that's it there if you want to look it up. I think there's a number on it, right there. So that bypasses the clutch dampener, which was this piece here. So finish off that intercooler pipe. Oh, and I need to relocate the battery. So the battery did sit right here, but because the air filter is going to be in the way and the piping for the intercooler, I might try mount it on this side of the car or underneath the car and just have it not in the engine bay at all. So now it's time to do the intercooler pipe on this Rodeo for this compound turbo setup. So I basically just got to go from there to that elbow through the car. So just through the hole in the firewall from the previous piping for my front mount, join it to here. So that's, I think it's 1.5 inches out of the turbo to a 2-inch reducer. That's what that silicon is. That's a bit of 2-inch pipe. And then I've got one of these, which is 2 to 2.5 inch reducer. So I'll weld that on there. And then because I've got 2.5 inch alley piping, I'll continue on from 2.5 inch to the 2.5 inch elbow that's on the intercooler. So continue with that. Once that's joined up, that's pretty much the whole compound setup joined to the car, and it's just the exhaust, and that's it. is, that's one intercooler pipe done. So you can start clamping all that up, put the grill back on. Pretty much what's left to do is start the exhaust and lines for boost control. So all my lines off pretty much like that, where it runs from the back of the intake to all the wastegates with all the boost controllers and stuff. Got to sort all that out, but we'll keep going on. So what I'm doing here is I'm unscrewing the top of this external gate. So this is the gate that routes the exhaust gas from the manifold straight to the big turbo, bypasses the small one. So currently it should have a 7 psi spring and a 14 psi spring in there. And I want to take the 14 psi spring out, so it's just the 7. So what's going to happen is I'll run the boost line from the big turbo to this. So the theory is when the big turbo hits 7 psi, it opens this and puts all the exhaust gas straight to the big turbo. So the little turbo will spool up till the big one's at 7 psi. So don't know what psi the little turbo will get to while the big one's at 7. And then yeah, all the exhaust gas will route straight to the big turbo and just keep the big one spooling in theory. But we won't know till we drive it. And I'm gonna have to run 2 boost gauges so I know what the overall boost is in the manifold, and I put one in the line that comes off the big turbo so I know what boost pressure is in between the 2 turbos to know really what's going on there to adjust this gate. Is this still going? Mm-hmm. So as you can see here, we've got 2 springs. So that one will be the 14, that one will be a 7. Together you can get them up to a higher boost pressure, which you can do. You can stack springs, or you just run one. You might just run one light one, see what it does. Right, so that test drive went well. As you can see, because I've got no exhaust yet, there is soot all over the firewall, but drove really nice. Haven't done anything with boost control yet. As you can see, none of these have barbs on them. So once I start playing with that and tune it properly, it would go even better. It done 25 psi boost still, so I'm gonna wind that up to about 30. more fuel, and we'll party on.